Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. It was a quiet evening in the heart of New York City, and the atmosphere was exactly as one would expect for a top-tier restaurant. The soft hum of conversation and the faint clinking of silverware filled the air, while the golden light bounced off the polished surfaces of the room. Every detail was a work of art, from the hand-painted murals on the walls to the perfectly set tables. But amidst all of this luxury, Emma Brooks didn't feel like she belonged. She took a deep breath as she stood in front of the restaurant's glass doors, adjusting the hem of her second-hand dress. Her shoes were scuffed, and her hands trembled slightly. She had promised Jenny, her best friend, that she would go through with this blind date, but as Emma stepped into the elegant dining room, she immediately felt out of place. The reflection of her face in the glass reminded her of everything she wasn't: rich, polished, or refined. With a quick glance, her eyes fell on a man sitting alone at the back of the room. He was well-dressed, wearing a dark suit that seemed tailored to perfection. His dark hair was neatly styled, and his eyes were focused on his phone. That must be him, Emma whispered to herself, gathering her courage. She took another breath and walked over, forcing a smile onto her face. "Hi, you must be Kevin. I'm Emma. Nice to meet you." The man, who had been engrossed in his phone, looked up, clearly startled. He blinked a few times, momentarily unsure of what to say. Hi, Emma," Liam Parker replied, his voice soft but a little hesitant. He was clearly caught off guard, but he didn't seem upset. Emma, misreading the situation as nervousness on his part, slid into the seat across from him. Her nerves were sky-high, but she pushed them down. "Oh, I know this is awkward," Emma laughed nervously. "Blind dates are always a little strange. Jenny told me you might be a little shy, so don't worry, I can talk enough for the both of us." Liam opened his mouth to correct her, but then hesitated. His phone buzzed on the table, signaling a cancellation for a meeting, and something about Emma's open smile made him pause. She was nothing like the polished socialites or the business partners he usually dealt with. She seemed genuine. "Right, blind dates are something else," Liam finally said with a faint smile, a small laugh escaping him. Emma chuckled, her nervousness starting to ease as she sipped her water. "Tell me about it. Jenny's been trying to set me up for months, but I've been too busy with work, she said, hoping to make the conversation flow. "What do you do?" Liam hesitated, then shrugged slightly. "I work in tech," he said, his tone a bit vague. Emma, eager to keep the conversation going, smiled brightly. "Tech? That's cool. Like coding or apps and stuff." "I'm terrible with computers," she said with a light laugh, trying to fill the silence. Liam smiled slightly at her, enjoying the easy way she talked. "Something like that," Liam said, his smile widening as he leaned back in his chair. The conversation flowed easily after that, with Emma sharing anecdotes from her life as a waitress. She talked about her struggles, her dream of one day opening her own art studio, and how hard it was to get by. Liam found himself laughing more than he had in months. Her enthusiasm was contagious. As Emma spoke, she realized she hadn't felt so at ease in a long time. "You're not what I expected," Emma said suddenly, a little more thoughtful. "Jenny said you were quiet." She blushed slightly at the confession. Liam raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" he asked, genuinely curious. "Well, she said you were reserved. But you're easy to talk to," Emma said, offering him a shy smile. Liam chuckled softly. "You're easy to talk to, too," he said, his eyes warm. Just as Emma was about to ask him more about his work in tech, her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, and her heart sank. "Hey, Emma, where are you?" "I'm at table 7. Looking forward to meeting you, Kevin." Emma froze, rereading the message slowly, her face turning red. With embarrassment, she looked up at Liam, her voice barely above a whisper. "You're not Kevin, are you?" she asked, horrified. Liam's smile faltered, and for a brief moment, guilt flickered in his eyes. "No, I'm not," he admitted, his voice tinged with regret. Emma's stomach churned as the realization hit her. She stood abruptly, almost knocking over her water glass. "Oh my God," she muttered, her face burning with shame. "I'm so sorry. I sat at the wrong table. This is so embarrassing. Without waiting for a response, she grabbed her coat and bolted for the door. Liam watched her go, a strange mix of regret and curiosity swirling in his chest. He had intended to correct her from the start, but now he found himself wondering if he'd ever see her again, and why the thought of not seeing her bothered him so much. It had been a week since Emma's embarrassing encounter at the restaurant, and she was still trying to forget about the man she had mistaken for Kevin. The thought of him lingered in her mind, but she tried to push it aside. Her life had always been one big hustle, waiting tables, paying rent, chasing dreams of one day owning an art studio. That night, as she walked back to her tiny apartment after another long shift, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to change. The soft hum of the city's nightlife surrounded her, but she barely noticed. Her mind was still on the restaurant, on Liam Parker. He was different, she could tell. He had listened to her in a way no one ever had. He didn't see her as just a waitress, struggling to get by. And yet, he had to be just another rich guy who'd forget about her after their brief exchange, right? She shook her head, dismissing the thought. She had enough to worry about without thinking about some random man she'd bumped into. Just as Emma passed by a small cafe, she saw a familiar face, Liam's. He was sitting at a table near the window, sipping his coffee, completely absorbed in his laptop. Her heart skipped a beat as she stood frozen, unsure whether to approach him. She considered turning around and leaving, but something made her stop. She had to know. She had to at least apologize for running out like she had. Taking a deep breath, Emma pushed open the door and stepped inside. The bell chimed above her head, causing Liam to glance up. His expression softened the moment their eyes met. "Emma," he said with a slight smile. "I didn't expect to see you here." He looked surprised but not uncomfortable, which put her a little at ease. I just wanted to apologize," she blurted out, walking toward his table. "I was mortified after our last meeting. I didn't mean to run off like that." She pulled out the chair across from him and sat down, despite her nerves. Liam leaned back in his chair, his posture relaxed, and gave her a warm smile. "No need to apologize. It was an honest mistake," he said. He seemed genuinely kind, and Emma couldn't help but feel a little more at ease. The awkwardness from their first encounter began to dissipate. "But I feel bad," Emma insisted, biting her lip. "I didn't even give you a chance to explain." She pushed a stray lock of hair behind her ear, her hands fidgeting with the edge of her jacket. "It's fine," Liam said. "You were just being yourself. Honestly, I didn't mind. But I'm glad you came over. It's a nice surprise." He closed his laptop and gave her his full attention, which made Emma feel oddly special. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the clatter of the cafe around them creating a cozy backdrop. Emma found herself opening up to him, something she hadn't expected. She told him about her job at the diner, her dream of owning an art studio, and how she felt like her life was stuck in a loop. It was strange how easily the words came, how different this conversation felt compared to others. Liam listened intently, his eyes never leaving her face. It felt like he truly cared. When she finished, there was a brief pause before Liam spoke again. "I know we got off to a strange start, but I'd like to get to know you better, Emma. If you're interested, maybe we could meet again." His voice was calm, but there was something in it, a sincerity that Emma hadn't expected. It took her by surprise, leaving her speechless for a moment. She blinked, her thoughts racing. "You want to meet again?" After everything, she felt embarrassed, unsure if this was just some polite gesture on his part. "Of course," Liam replied with a chuckle. "I think we both deserve a second chance, don't you?" His grin was soft, and Emma couldn't help but return it. For the next few minutes, they discussed more casual things, favorite books, the best art galleries in town, and even some of the ridiculous things that had happened during Emma's shifts at the diner. They laughed together, and for the first time in a long while, Emma felt like she was truly seen, not for her job or her background, but for who she was. As their conversation wound down, Liam stood up, pushing his chair back. "I'll walk you home," he offered. "It's the least I can do after you showed up here today." Emma hesitated, then nodded. She was hesitant, but there was something about him that made her feel safe, even after everything. They left the cafe together, stepping into the chilly evening air. The city lights glimmered in the distance as they walked in silence, each step taking them further from their awkward first meeting and closer to something more. For the first time, Emma felt a little less alone in the world, and it scared her. But it also made her curious about what could come next. When they reached her apartment, Liam turned to her with a soft smile. "Take care, Emma," he said before turning to leave. Emma watched him walk away, her heart fluttering in a way she didn't quite understand. Maybe it wasn't just about him being a millionaire. Maybe it was about the way he made her feel, like she mattered. The following week, Emma couldn't stop thinking about Liam. Every time she walked past the cafe, she'd glance inside, half hoping to see him there, but he was never around. It wasn't like her to fixate on someone, but there was something about him, something that made her feel like he understood her. She kept telling herself that she shouldn't get too attached. After all, he was a millionaire, and she was just a waitress, barely getting by. They lived in completely different worlds. But then again, when he looked at her, it didn't feel that way. One rainy evening, she was walking home after a particularly difficult shift. The rain had soaked through her coat, and she was exhausted. As she turned the corner onto her street, she noticed a figure standing outside her apartment building, holding an umbrella. Her heart skipped a beat when she realized it was Liam. "Emma," he said with a warm smile as she approached. "I thought I might catch you before you got inside. I've been trying to get a hold of you all day." His voice was calm, but there was a hint of urgency in it that made her pause. "Liam?" she asked, a little surprised. She hadn't expected to see him outside her building, especially not in the rain. He handed her the umbrella with a soft chuckle. I know. I probably should have called first, but I wanted to see you. You seemed a little distant when we last met, and I didn't want to leave things unfinished. Can we talk for a moment?" He looked at her, his eyes sincere. Emma hesitated for a second, unsure of what to say. It wasn't that she didn't want to talk to him. In fact, she was curious about him, about his life, about what had brought him to her. But she wasn't sure if she was ready to dive into something she wasn't sure about. Still, something in his eyes told her it was worth hearing him out. "Okay, sure," she said, stepping closer, grateful for the warmth of the umbrella. "What's on your mind?" she asked, trying to hide the nervous flutter in her chest. He sighed, as if gathering his thoughts. "Look, I know I've probably come off as just another rich guy, trying to fix a problem with money or influence. And I know I'm probably not what you expected. But Emma, you're not just another girl in a diner for me. You made me realize something." His gaze softened as he looked down at the umbrella, spinning it slowly in his hands. "I've been surrounded by people who only care about what I can give them. I don't want that anymore. I want to know what it's like to actually connect with someone who doesn't care about my bank account, but cares about me. You're different, Emma." His voice was low, honest, and for the first time in a long time, Emma felt something she hadn't in ages: hope. Emma blinked, trying to process his words. She had always felt like she was invisible to the world, but Liam's words made her feel seen in a way she never had before. Still, doubt crept in. Was this some kind of joke? Could he really be telling the truth? "I don't know what you're expecting from me, Liam," she said quietly, unsure of herself. "I'm not the kind of person who fits into your world. I'm just trying to survive, you know? I'm not looking for someone to save me. I'm fine on my own." Her voice shook a little as she spoke, but she was determined not to let her vulnerability show. Liam stepped closer, his expression softening. "I'm not here to save you, Emma. I just want to know you, if that's okay with you." His words were simple, but they carried so much weight. For a moment, they stood there in silence, the rain falling softly around them. Emma felt a wave of emotions she hadn't expected. It wasn't just his words, it was the way he made her feel, like maybe, just maybe, they could figure something out together. She didn't know what would happen next, but she couldn't shake the feeling that meeting Liam might just be the start of something unexpected. "Okay," she finally said, a smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. "We can talk. I'm not sure what this is, but I'll give it a chance." Her heart was racing, but she felt a strange sense of peace wash over her. She didn't know where this would go, but for the first time in a long time, she was ready to find out. Liam's face lit up with a smile. "Thank you, Emma. That's all I ask." He reached out, gently tucking a strand of hair behind her ear, a soft gesture that made her feel even more connected to him than before. As they stood there, surrounded by the quiet hum of the city, something shifted between them. Emma wasn't sure what the future held, but for the first time in a while, she felt like maybe, just maybe, she was on the right path. The days that followed were a whirlwind for Emma. She and Liam spent more time together, meeting for coffee, walking through the city, and sharing stories about their lives. He made her feel like she was the only person in the room whenever they talked. For the first time in years, Emma felt something she hadn't in a long while. A sense of connection, a sense of being understood. Liam was still the millionaire tech mogul, but when he was with her, he seemed different, softer, more human. One Saturday afternoon, after a long morning shift at the diner, Emma was surprised to find Liam waiting for her outside her apartment building, a bouquet of flowers in hand. He smiled when he saw her, and for a moment, it felt like time had stopped. She was still adjusting to the idea of someone like Liam doing something like this for her. "I hope you're not too tired for a walk," Liam said, offering the bouquet to her. "I thought we could grab lunch at that little park nearby, the one you mentioned last week." His voice was warm, and Emma could hear the genuine care in it. She smiled, taking the flowers from him. "You really don't have to do this," she said, feeling a little overwhelmed. "I'm not some kind of princess, you know." She looked at him, her voice playful, but there was an edge of insecurity there she couldn't quite hide. Liam chuckled, shaking his head. "You don't have to be a princess to deserve something nice, Emma." His eyes softened as he looked at her, and for a moment, Emma felt like she could tell him anything. They spent the afternoon at the park, talking about everything and nothing. Liam asked about her dreams of opening an art studio, and Emma found herself opening up in ways she never had before. She didn't have to be anyone other than herself around him, and that made her feel both vulnerable and powerful. He was so different from anyone she'd ever known, someone who wasn't looking for something from her, but was just there. As the sun began to set, casting a warm golden glow over the park, Liam stood up from the bench, offering his hand to Emma. "I know we're still figuring things out," he said quietly, "but I can't help feeling like there's something between us. Something real." His voice was sincere, and the way he looked at her made her heart skip a beat. Emma looked at him, the butterflies in her stomach fluttering wildly. She had tried to keep things casual, tried not to get too attached. But here they were, standing in the middle of a park, both of them uncertain, yet hopeful about what could come next. "I don't know what this is, Liam," Emma admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I like spending time with you. I like being around you." Her words were honest, and for the first time in a long while, she didn't feel the need to hide her feelings. Liam's smile was gentle as he squeezed her hand. "Then let's take it slow. No pressure. Just us, getting to know each other better." There was something comforting in his words, a promise of no rush, no expectations, just a chance for them to explore whatever this was, without the pressure of rushing. That evening, as they walked back to her apartment, Emma felt a strange sense of calm. She had been so caught up in her own fears and insecurities for so long, thinking that she wasn't worthy of someone like Liam, that she had almost forgotten how to just let herself be. But with him, she felt seen in a way she never had before. She wasn't just a waitress or a dreamer struggling to make ends meet. With Liam, she felt like she could be more, like she could be someone worth fighting for. As they reached her door, Liam leaned in, brushing a strand of hair away from her face. "Good night, Emma," he said softly, his voice warm, his presence lingering. "I'll see you soon." Emma smiled, her heart fluttering in her chest as she watched him walk away, the weight of the day lifting off her shoulders. Inside her apartment, Emma stood at the door for a moment, her fingers lightly touching the flowers Liam had given her. For the first time in a long time, she felt like maybe, just maybe, there was more to life than the hustle and the struggle. Maybe, just maybe, she deserved a chance at something real. Over the next few weeks, Emma and Liam continued to spend time together. What started as casual coffee meetings turned into more regular dates, walks through the city, dinners at quiet restaurants, and sometimes just sitting on the couch, watching movies at her apartment. They talked about everything, their dreams, their fears, and even their pasts. Liam shared stories of his childhood and how he had always been pushed to succeed, to be perfect. Emma told him about growing up in a small town, the pressure to succeed, and how she had worked multiple jobs just to survive. With each passing day, their connection deepened. It was like they had known each other forever, yet each moment together felt brand new. But despite how much Emma enjoyed their time together, a nagging voice in the back of her mind couldn't let go of the fear that Liam might still be just another rich man, someone who could never understand her struggles. She had seen this pattern before. People who seemed to care, but in the end, only wanted something from her. She couldn't shake the thought that she was just another notch in his belt, another person he could show off to his high society friends. It was hard to ignore, especially when she saw the way his world functioned: luxurious cars, fancy dinners, and an endless stream of people who catered to his every need. One evening, after a dinner date at an upscale restaurant, they were walking down the street when Emma brought up the subject that had been weighing on her mind for days. "Liam," she began, her voice quiet but steady. "I need to know something. I need to know if you're serious about this. About us." She stopped walking and turned to face him, her heart racing. Liam looked at her, his expression softening. "What do you mean?" he asked, genuinely curious. "I mean," Emma continued, looking down at the pavement, "you live in a completely different world from mine. I'm not like the women you're used to. I don't have fancy clothes, a rich background, or anything that would make me worthy of your attention. I just need to know if this is real for you, or if I'm just some temporary distraction." Her voice cracked slightly at the end, the vulnerability she had been hiding finally breaking through. For a moment, Liam said nothing. He simply stood there, looking at her with a mixture of surprise and understanding. Then, he stepped closer, gently taking her hands in his. "Emma," he said softly, his voice steady, "I'm not here because of your clothes or your background. I'm here because of who you are. I like you. I like the way you laugh, the way you care about things. And I don't care about your job or where you come from. That doesn't matter to me." He paused, searching her eyes. "I'm not here for a fling. I want something real with you, Emma. And I'm not going anywhere." His words were sincere, and Emma could feel the truth in them, even if she wasn't ready to fully believe it yet. She looked up at him, her eyes brimming with emotion. There was something in his gaze, a tenderness, a sincerity, that made her feel like she was the only one in the world who mattered. For the first time in a long while, Emma allowed herself to believe him. "Okay," she whispered, a smile starting to tug at the corners of her lips. "Okay, I believe you." She felt a weight lift from her shoulders, the fear and doubt she had been carrying for so long starting to fade away. She didn't know what the future held, but for the first time, she felt like she was ready to take that chance. As they stood there, their hands still intertwined, Emma realized that she had been so focused on the things she didn't have, she had forgotten to appreciate the one thing that mattered most: the connection they shared. She had spent so long convincing herself that she wasn't good enough, that she didn't deserve someone like Liam. But now, standing in the cool night air with him, she understood something. She didn't have to be perfect to be worthy of love. Liam smiled, his thumb gently brushing over the back of her hand. "I'm glad," he said quietly. "I'm glad you're giving this a chance." His voice was warm, filled with tenderness. They continued walking down the street, their fingers intertwined, the future uncertain but the present, the moment, perfect. And for the first time, Emma felt like maybe, just maybe, she had found something real. As weeks passed, Emma and Liam's relationship blossomed. They were no longer just two people who had stumbled into each other's lives by mistake. Now, they were partners in every sense of the word. Emma felt herself growing in ways she hadn't thought possible. Liam's presence in her life was like a breath of fresh air, reminding her that there was more to her than just struggling to get by. She had dreams, ambitions, and for the first time, someone who believed in her. One afternoon, Liam invited Emma to a gallery opening that his company was sponsoring. She had never been to one of those high society events before, and though she felt a little out of place, she agreed to go. She couldn't deny that she was excited. The idea of experiencing something new with Liam, something beyond her usual world, was thrilling. When they arrived, the bright lights and the clinking of glasses immediately enveloped them. Emma could tell that everyone in the room was polished, dressed in expensive clothes, their conversations full of business and names that she didn't recognize. She suddenly felt like a fish out of water, unsure of how to behave. She squeezed Liam's hand, trying to steady herself. Seeing her nervousness, Liam leaned in, his voice gentle. "Just be yourself," he whispered. "You're here with me, and that's all that matters. You don't have to impress anyone." His words calmed her, but she still couldn't help but feel like all eyes were on her. As they mingled with the crowd, Emma tried her best to relax. But it wasn't easy. She overheard snatches of conversations about art, tech, and business deals, and she realized how out of her depth she was. She felt like everyone around her had their lives together in a way she never would. But Liam was by her side, and that made all the difference. He introduced her to a few people, his hand never leaving hers, and each time he did, she noticed the way people looked at them, not as if they were a mismatch, but as if they belonged together. At one point, Liam stepped away to talk to a business associate, leaving Emma to explore the gallery on her own. As she walked around, she found herself drawn to a painting, a bright abstract piece with bold colors. She stood there, mesmerized, taking in the beauty of it, when a voice behind her spoke. "I didn't expect to see you here." Emma turned to find a woman standing beside her, a look of surprise on her face. "Liam's new girlfriend, right? I heard a lot about you." The woman smiled, but there was something cold in her eyes, something that made Emma feel uncomfortable. Before Emma could respond, the woman continued. "You know, it's not easy fitting into Liam's world. He has certain expectations. I just hope you're ready for it." Her tone was laced with a hint of something, pity, or maybe superiority. Emma could feel her stomach tighten as she smiled politely, unsure of what to say. The woman didn't wait for an answer. She walked off, leaving Emma standing there, her thoughts swirling. Was this what Liam's world was like? People judging her before they even knew her? She hadn't signed up for this. She hadn't expected to feel so small. As Emma turned to leave the gallery, trying to shake off the woman's words, she bumped into Liam. He looked at her, noticing the change in her expression immediately. "What happened? Are you okay?" he asked, concern evident in his voice. Emma took a deep breath and forced a smile. "I'm fine. I just got a little overwhelmed, that's all." She didn't want to tell him about the encounter with the woman. She didn't want to sound petty or insecure. But deep down, she knew she needed to be honest with him. Liam took her hand and gently led her outside into the cool night air. "Emma," he said softly, his voice steady. "Don't let anyone make you feel less than you are. You're amazing, and you don't have to prove anything to anyone. Least of all to those people. They don't matter." His words were like a balm to her wounded pride. Emma looked at him, her heart swelling with gratitude. "I know," she said quietly, her voice full of emotion. Sometimes I wonder if I really belong in your world." She didn't know why she was admitting this to him, but it felt good to finally say it out loud. Liam's expression softened, and he cupped her face in his hands. "Emma, this world," he said, "it's just a world. But you? You belong here, with me, in every way. We're building something real, and that's all that matters. Don't ever doubt that." His words were like a promise, and for the first time, Emma felt like she was exactly where she was meant to be. They stood there for a moment, the city lights twinkling around them, and for the first time since arriving at the gallery, Emma felt like she could breathe again. She didn't have to fit into anyone's expectations. She didn't have to prove her worth. Liam had already shown her that she was enough. The weeks that followed were filled with both calm and turbulence. Emma felt more secure in her relationship with Liam than ever before, but doubts began to creep in once again. The woman at the gallery, her cold words still lingering in Emma's mind, had planted a seed of insecurity. She couldn't help but wonder, was this really real? Was Liam only showing her affection because she was different, or was he just going through the motions? Her thoughts twisted in circles as she tried to ignore the fear that had started to rise again. One evening, after a long day at the diner, Emma sat in her apartment, staring at the text message Liam had sent her earlier. "I'm looking forward to seeing you tonight. Let's have dinner at my place. I want to make something special." Her heart warmed at the thought, but something in her gut felt off. The fact that she was even questioning it made her feel guilty. Why couldn't she just let herself enjoy this? She met Liam at his penthouse later that evening, and the minute she walked in, she could feel the difference in their worlds. The pristine, luxurious apartment, the smell of expensive candles and dinner already prepared. It was all a stark contrast to her humble apartment and her life as a waitress. She swallowed hard, trying not to let the disparity between their lives overwhelm her. "You look beautiful," Liam said as he greeted her at the door, his smile soft and sincere. His eyes softened as he looked at her, and for a brief moment, Emma felt like she could forget all the doubts swirling in her mind. She smiled back at him, grateful for his warmth. They sat down to eat. The meal Liam had prepared delicious, and the conversation flowed easily between them. But Emma couldn't shake the feeling that there was something she hadn't yet fully addressed with him. A fear, an underlying anxiety that if she didn't face it now, it would only continue to grow. As they finished their meal, Emma decided to confront the feeling that had been gnawing at her. Liam, she began softly, her voice hesitant. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. She looked at him, watching his expression shift to one of curiosity. Of course, Emma. Anything, Liam said, his tone reassuring. He set down his fork and gave her his full attention, his blue eyes never leaving hers. I don't know, she started, her hands fidgeting nervously with the edge of her napkin. Sometimes I feel like I'm not good enough for you. That you're just doing this because I'm different, and you feel sorry for me. I'm not used to this kind of life, Liam. And I guess I'm afraid that I'll just never really belong here. With you. Her voice trembled at the end, and she immediately regretted letting those words slip out. For a long moment, Liam didn't speak. He just looked at her, his face unreadable. Emma felt her heart pounding in her chest, and she quickly looked away, not able to meet his gaze anymore. But then, Liam reached across the table, gently taking her hands in his. His touch was warm, grounding. Emma, listen to me, he said softly, his voice steady. I'm not here because you're different. I'm here because I see you. Who you really are. Your strength, your kindness, your heart. I don't need you to change. I don't need you to become someone else. You're more than enough for me. He paused for a moment, his hand still holding hers. I know this world is different from the one you're used to. And I know it's hard to believe that this, us, is real. But it is. I'm not going anywhere. And I don't want anyone else. Just you. Emma felt tears welling in her eyes. For the first time in a long while, she felt something she hadn't allowed herself to feel. Hope. Real, deep, unshakable hope. She had spent so long trying to protect herself, pushing away her feelings, but now she could finally see the truth. Liam wasn't just a rich man offering her comfort. He was someone who truly cared about her, someone who saw her for who she was and accepted her completely. I'm sorry, she whispered, her voice barely audible. I didn't mean to doubt you. Liam smiled gently, brushing a stray tear from her cheek. There's no need to apologize, Emma. I understand. But you don't have to be afraid anymore. He squeezed her hands, his smile soft and reassuring. We're in this together. And I'm not going anywhere. Emma let out a shaky breath, feeling the weight of her fears lift for the first time in weeks. For the first time, she truly believed in the connection they shared. She didn't need to be perfect. She didn't need to belong to his world. She only needed to be herself, and that was more than enough. As they sat there together, the quiet hum of the city outside their window, Emma realized that this was just the beginning of something beautiful, something real. As the weeks passed, Emma and Liam's bond only grew stronger. They had found a rhythm, a balance between their worlds. Emma was slowly opening up more, letting go of the insecurities that had once clouded her heart. Liam, too, seemed more relaxed, as though he had found something real in their connection that had been missing from his life. Their days were filled with quiet moments of joy, and even in the busiest times, they made space for each other. Emma started helping Liam with some of his business ventures, using her creativity to design some of the branding and events for his company. She had never thought of herself as a designer, but with Liam's encouragement, she realized she had a natural talent for it. He pushed her to dream bigger, to embrace her potential, and she found herself inspired in ways she had never been before. But despite the growing love between them, Emma still felt a twinge of doubt lingering in the back of her mind. One evening, as they sat together on the couch, talking about their future, that nagging feeling resurfaced. Liam, she began, her voice hesitant. What if we're just too different? What if, deep down, I'm not enough for you? She had meant to keep the words to herself, but once they were out, she felt a weight lift from her chest. Liam turned to her, his expression serious. He took a deep breath and reached for her hand. Emma, I know we come from different backgrounds, but that's not what matters. What matters is what we've built together, the trust, the honesty, the love. You are more than enough. You've always been enough. He squeezed her hand gently, his voice unwavering. I've never met anyone like you, Emma. You bring something into my life that I never even knew I needed. His words were filled with sincerity, and Emma felt her heart soften. For the first time, she truly believed it. Later that night, as they lay in bed together, the quiet comfort of each other's presence filling the room, Liam's voice broke the silence. I've been thinking, he said, his voice low. I know we've only been together for a while, but I feel like I've found something I don't want to lose. Something real. and I want to make it official. I want you to be my partner in every sense of the word." He reached over and pulled a small box from the drawer beside the bed. Inside was a ring, simple, elegant, and beautiful. Emma gasped, her eyes widening in surprise. "Liam, I didn't expect this." Her voice trembled, her heart racing. She hadn't imagined this moment would come so soon, but the look in his eyes told her everything she needed to know. He wasn't asking out of obligation or expectation. He was asking because he wanted to share his life with her. Liam smiled softly, his thumb brushing across her hand. "I know this might feel fast, but I don't want to waste any more time. I've been waiting for something like this my whole life, and now I have it. You." He paused, his gaze never leaving hers. "Will you marry me, Emma? Will you make this official with me?" His voice was filled with hope and love, and in that moment, Emma knew there was no doubt in her heart. She looked at the ring, then back at him, her chest tight with emotion. "Yes," she whispered, her voice filled with warmth. "Yes, I will." A smile spread across Liam's face, his eyes lighting up with joy. He pulled her into a tight embrace, and in that moment, Emma felt everything click into place. The fears, the insecurities, the doubts, they all faded away. This was real. This was what love was supposed to feel like. And she had found it, with him. As they held each other, Emma couldn't help but think about how far they had come, how much they had both grown together. She had once doubted her worth, but now, in Liam's arms, she realized that she was more than enough. Together, they had built something beautiful, and now they were ready to take the next step into their future. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The weeks leading up to the wedding were filled with excitement, laughter, and a few nervous moments. Emma found herself overwhelmed with the love and support that surrounded her. Liam had been everything she had ever dreamed of and more, and now, they were about to take the next step in their journey together. They decided on a small, intimate ceremony, just close family and a few friends. It wasn't about the extravagance, it was about the commitment, the promise they were making to each other. As the big day approached, Emma couldn't help but reflect on how far she had come. She thought back to the woman who had once doubted herself, unsure of her worth and afraid to take chances. Now, she was walking into a future she never thought was possible, with the man she loved by her side. She had spent so many years trying to be someone she wasn't, trying to prove her worth to the world. But Liam had shown her that she didn't need to prove anything to anyone. She was enough just as she was. On the morning of the wedding, Emma woke up early, her heart racing with anticipation. She looked out the window at the sun rising over the city and felt a sense of peace she hadn't known before. She had found something real, something beautiful. As she got ready, she couldn't help but smile, knowing that today wasn't just the beginning of a new chapter. It was the culmination of everything they had built together, the love they had nurtured, and the life they were about to create. When she arrived at the venue, a small garden by the river, she saw Liam waiting for her. He looked every bit as handsome as she remembered, his eyes filled with emotion. As she walked toward him, their eyes met, and it was as if time stood still. There was no doubt, no uncertainty, just a pure, unshakable connection between them. As they exchanged vows, Emma felt her heart swell with love. She promised to stand by Liam through every challenge, to support him, and to love him unconditionally. And in return, Liam promised to cherish her, to be there for her, and to always make her feel like she was the most important person in the world. As they sealed their vows with a kiss, Emma knew that this was just the beginning of a beautiful journey. The reception was filled with laughter, dancing, and heartfelt speeches from friends and family. Emma looked around at the people she loved and realized how lucky she was to have found someone like Liam. The love they shared wasn't perfect, but it was real, raw, unfiltered, and full of promise. And as the night came to a close, Liam pulled Emma into his arms, holding her close as the music played softly in the background. "This is just the beginning," Liam whispered into her ear. "I promise we'll make this last forever." Emma smiled, her heart full. "Forever sounds perfect," she said, knowing in that moment that no matter what life threw their way, they would face it together. And as they stood there, wrapped in each other's arms, the future stretched out before them, full of endless possibilities. The struggles they had faced had only made their love stronger, and now, they were ready to take on the world, as a team, as partners, as soulmates.